Coke in the US has been sweetened with corn syrup, though some other markets do use cane sugar. Experts say there's no major difference between the two with regards to health, saying too much of either is bad for you. Now Coca-Cola says the new version will complement existing products, but it's likely to drive up costs for the firm, with cane sugar more expensive than corn syrup. US corn refiners have also complained that a switch will hurt demand for their product and lead to more imports of sugar.
So, reports suggest that Trump tariffs, funding cuts, and immigration policies, among other policies, are the key contributors to American farm crisis in 2025. This has contributed to or has led to financial strain to some of the American farmers, and they are hurting the heartland of American food industry. It seems likely that these policies, especially tariffs on China, it reduced export demand and increased farm bankruptcies. Some farmers are actually optimistic in the long run of these policies. The evidence leans toward policy disappropriation. The agricultural bailout are favoring large farmers over small farmers, which is creating actually a big controversy and inequality in the hearts of, on the rural Americans. Then to know that these guys actually, they have no plans and they will actually, celebrate if Americans are starving. So this article, U.S. Secretary say Medicaid recipients can replace deported farm workers. So the 2025 big beautiful bill actually, it slashed a lot of actually, money that were to go to the recipients of the Medicaid. So they say, I think they have, there are few, they will use it as a bargaining chip. If you are a recipient of Medicaid, you go and work in those farmland. This is actually their idea. Brock Lawrence also claimed automation can replace the immigrant labor force despite repeated evidence of failure. So they have tried automation, it has failed several times. So these are people, So I wonder, this guy actually, he has brain, he has data, and he know that this thing cannot work, but they are supporting. But now he's pushing for the recipients of Medicaid to actually replace the migrant workers. So the U.S. Agriculture Secretary has suggested that increase automation and forcing Medicaid, underline the word forcing, Medicaid recipients to work could replace the migrant farm workers being swept up in Donald Trump's mass deportation campaign. So despite years of evidence and policy failures that those kind of measures are not substituted for the immigrant labor force underpinning American agriculture. Speaking at a news conference with the Republican governor on Tuesday, Rawlings said the administration will rely on automation, also some reform within the current governing structure, and pointed to 34 million able-bodied adults in our Medicaid program as potential workers. Just imagine. He said there's a lot of noise in the last few days and a lot of questions about where the president stands and his vision for farm labor. He said there are plenty of workers in America. In July, Trump signed a legislation creating the first federally mandated work requirements for Medicaid recipients, which is said to be effective in 2026. So imagine, this government is gonna force many of Americans, they say 34 million able-bodied, to go and work in those farms. Is this a joke or something? Please tell me in the comment section, what do you think about this thing? Because I can't comprehend, Oh, are you guys, willing to go to work in those farmland for you to be able to actually receive your Medicaid or medical insurance? Tell me, what do you think in the comment section? So, as if Donald Trump is not hurting American farmers enough, he is continuing to actually, raid those farmland. Okay, I know many of these immigrants are actually, live in blue states. Let's start there and let's get everything right. But let us ask ourselves, if these immigrants, they're actually, deported back to their countries, who is gonna work in those American farms? Like, let's just be reasonable, and let's gather our thoughts actually, and figure this out. Immigration policies and labor shortages, they're actually hurting American farmers. People will say, I've seen people online actually like they are celebrating, deport them. Even some of these farmers are actually calling upon ICE to, come and raid those lands. So then you start to wonder yourself, are these actually guys okay? So immigration policies under Trump, including ICE raids, have led to labor shortages, particularly in labor-intensive agricultural regions like California. Imagine, by 2000, 85% of the workers in some areas were immigrant laborers, who essentially were harvesting crops. The ICE raids that have been done have caused fear, and many of these people are not showing up in those fields. Many of crops, we've seen videos of actually crops rotting in the field. What does this mean? There's reduced productivity. Many of your product, how does it, reduced productivity, it means less food or less grocery, agricultural product that will reach the market. How will this affect you? Because to compensate for the items that are actually rotting in the field, there will be higher prices for this product. Some of you will not actually afford it. Okay, let's assume those, we get those American farmers. These guys don't work for that small wage. And many of these immigrants, actually, they are skilled in doing those things. How long will American farmer actually work in that field? How long will a black person work in that field? I was reading at an article somewhere that say American farmers, they don't work for very long time. Okay, I'll just read for you. So this is from Quora Digest. So here's the question. Okay, the article is reading question. Are farmers really relying on immigrant workers because they won't pay higher wages, or is it there more to that story? Then he said, in part, yes. Then let's see. Number one, most farmers aren't great business people. Many have failed to realize they cannot compete with large outfits. They don't try to expand their holdings locally to increase their own output. And they have been using migratory workers for as long that they cannot see how to do business without them. Basically, you have a small number of people who are unwilling to innovate and change, and that they are finding out the hard way that things do not remain the same. Point number two, migrant workers go away at the end of the season. Many people like migrants because they leave when the job is done. You don't have to see them struggling through winters. Their kids don't go to your kids' school, and you don't have to raise taxes locally or to care for them. They are disposable, and many people have grown accustomed to disposing of them. It's actually raising a great point here. Because, if these guys, they work for a certain period, when there's no, like during which season? During winter. These guys, they do what? They go back to their home, actually, and they take the small earning. But if you employ those, American farmers, if you employ those blacks in America, what will happen during winter? They'll be forced to look for another job. So it means next season they'll not come because they're likely not to leave their job. Okay, let's go. Point number 3. Farmers, like most business people, don't want to train new employees. Farmers want people to come in ready to stoop and pick crops for 8 to 12 hours per day, and to do so rapidly enough to make quotas. They have little interest in training people, as they want to keep them around just long enough to get the crops in and they cut them loose. That wouldn't work for traditional white or black American or even American-born Latinos, as they expect to be trained for their roles, and they won't tolerate some desperate farmers who wants them, or a desperate farmer who waited too long to hire crew, or who is trying to squeak out as much profit as they can, yelling at them on the first day of the work. That's the situation. No benefits, no workers, computer, or no employment. Most farmers have grown accustomed to hiring people off the book or through hiring companies, which are supposed to pay any relevant tax and fee while they may work for undocumented workers. Americans are normally smart enough to realize that if they aren't getting workmen compensation or a W-2 at the end of the year, that they are being exploited. It's getting everywhere. Farmers only recently had to comply with the tax laws and many state employment laws, and they are not happy as results. The point number 5 say, Americans will speak their minds and making suggestions. Many farmers are like migrants because they shut up and do what they are told. They don't complain normally. They don't talk back, and they wouldn't make many suggestions. Basically, the farmer has it or his or her way, and that's how they like things to go. Hiring Americans means questions, complaints, and unwanted advice. Agriculture is slowly catching up to modern society in many areas where it lagged behind woeful. These include pay, worker rights, and safety. So from this point, we see that it will be very hard to replace these workers. The blacks will come in, they'll give suggestions, they don't want to work this way or that way, and who will these farmers go to? Another person by the name Parker Brown, he said, there's more to the story. Do you remember the Show Me Your Papers era? Migrants and undocumented workers stayed home. Farmers had to hire white people to do the work, and it was a total failure. They quit after a few hours, but didn't last a week. Most people don't realize this, but farm work is skilled work. Yes, Some crop have been harvested by machine, which is soybean and corn, but others can't, e.g. berries and soft vegetables. For the crop that must be hand harvest, there's daily quota, and you have to develop a rhythm. Too fast and you'll be exhausted. Too slow and you'll not meet the quota of the day. To be a farmer, even corporate farmer, means that you are absolutely dependent on the weather. You are forever walking in tightrope. It's not just about wages, this is Lara. It's just handy excuses so people, the color of mayonnaise, can feel better about the mediocre. She literally means, who? The whites. Decades ago, there were programs for US high school students to do farm labor that failed. This US tried to replace migrants workers with high school students, but the high school students didn't want to go to the job. The job paid shit wages, had long hours. The workers were supplied shitty food and shittier shelter to sleep in. Imagine. So, in short, the US can do without migrant labor.